Hello internet users and welcome back to another video. Some time ago, I made a softlock where I took an entire party of level 100 Vaporeon into a glitchy spot in Pokemon Emerald. By making use of an obscure glitch, I was able to create a save file where the player was trapped for an incredibly long time. Today, I've got another party of Vaporeon in Pokemon Blue, and I'm going to use a different glitch to create a setup that is even more evil than last time. My name is Pakaspri, and I'm going to show all of you how to absolutely ruin a Gen 1 save file. To get started, I'll first need to explain a lesser-known mechanic that is only present in the Gen 1 games. Whenever you select Continue on the title screen, the player character will be set to face downward as everything loads in. No matter which direction you were facing when you last saved, this rule will always be applied in the background when data is loaded. This might sound incredibly mundane and pointless to bring up, but like many other things in Gen 1, this simple mechanic is incredibly broken in ways you'd never expect. The first major issue here is that this feature doesn't actually work in a lot of situations. As it turns out, in Gen 1, it's incredibly easy to open the menu right after you take a step onto another tile. In fact, with the right timing, it's technically possible to save the game right after a step is taken, but also before the end of the step is fully registered. In this case, if you were to reload your game, you'd find that you wouldn't be facing downward, but would instead be facing the direction of where you were walking. This is because the game is still trying to finish the step you took when you saved, which apparently takes priority over the normal routine of making the sprite look down. So technically, in this example I'm showing, the player is both looking to the right and down at the same time. But as soon as another step is taken after loading, things go back to normal, and this weird gameplay state is apparently fixed. But with that said, even under these conditions, the game still works like normal. If you attempt to use certain items, or even just the A button to interact with something, the game is still checking the tile that the player sprite is actually facing. The fact that loading tries to make you look downward is a non-issue that's completely irrelevant to almost every feature in the game. But if that's the case, then why does any of this matter? Why am I bothering to talk about this? And what kind of glitch can possibly happen because of such a trivial and unnoticeable detail? As it turns out, when you're in this weird state of facing two directions like this, there is exactly one situation where this will make the game confused. If you were to walk towards a body of water like this, and then save the game with the timing I described before, you'd be able to do something amazing once the game is reloaded. If you go into the party menu and use Surf, this will happen. That's right, we're now swimming on a land tile. Because we loaded into this world facing the water, the game allows surf to be selected, but because it also tried to make the player look down, the surf animation pushes the player in that direction instead. The setup can be used anywhere it's possible to save the game, while stepping towards a water tile. And as I'm sure you've noticed, when this happens, the game will ignore the properties of the tile you swim into. Even if it's a solid wall on a building, you'll swim into it like it's water. However, before you get too excited, you should know that everything you can do with this glitch is pretty limited. If you surf into the ground like this, you simply need to push another direction to put yourself back onto land like nothing happened. And if you're inside of a wall, you won't be able to push yourself further into it. You'll always be able to get out by just moving towards the tile you entered from. On the internet, this glitch is fittingly known as the surf down glitch. It's been documented for a long time, and I can personally tell you that I used to mess around with it when I was younger. Once you know about it, it's incredibly simple to pull off and show to other people. The most well-known thing that this glitch can be used for is reboarding the SS Anne in Vermilion City. But more realistically, most people use this glitch so they can surf to the side and see the infamous truck sprite. While it is still possible to reach this truck through various forms of sequence breaking, the surf down glitch is by far the simplest way of doing so. By this point in the video, you're probably wondering what this glitch has to do with softlocking. As I said before, this glitch only allows you to clip into one tile going downward. Because of this restriction, there isn't actually a whole lot you can do with this in most areas. But as it turns out, there is exactly one location in Gen 1 where using Surf Down has the potential to softlock the entire save. North of Cerulean City, you can reach Bill's house at the end of the cape. Normally, this is an early game location that you only need to visit once and then never again. But in front of Bill's house, there are 2 ponds here that by complete coincidence are perfectly arranged to make use of the glitch. By walking upwards towards the ponds and saving at the right time, you can use the glitch to swim into the fence here. But because there is another water tile ahead, you can keep swimming to get out of bounds on the other side. As soon as you do this though, the fence will become solid again, and you'll be unable to exit the same way. By looking at the map of this route, you'll notice that the areas outside of the fences are just an L-shaped strip of water and a small line of land tiles next to Bill's house. The areas that I've highlighted are the only places that the player can move once they've clipped out. Because the camera is never meant to scroll over this far, you'll also find that the actual edges of the map are solid walls, so it's impossible to go any further. So how does this turn into a softlock? Well, in this confined area, the only possible tile where you can activate the surf down glitch is this one right here. It's the only place you can stand where you can face the water while still being on land. But even if you set up the glitch again, you can only move into the corner of this fence, which accomplishes nothing. I cannot stress this enough. Once you use Surf Down to clip into this out-of-bounds area, you cannot use it to get back in. You're absolutely stuck. So with all of that in mind, there are now only 3 ways that the player can get themselves out of here. Number 1, use Fly. Number 2, use Teleport. Or number 3, have your entire party faint, which warps you to the last used Pokemon Center. I've done this entire setup using the party of Vaporeon I showed at the start of the video. Obviously, Vaporeon cannot fly or teleport, so if I were to save the game here, I'd be forced to battle wild Pokemon in the water until all 6 of them faint. There is just one tiny problem with that idea. There are no wild Pokemon in the water here. If you're used to other Pokemon games, then you know that every body of water has surfing encounters, but in Generation 1, this wasn't actually a rule yet. In these earlier games, only a select few areas, such as the ocean routes and caves, have Pokemon that'll appear by surfing. If a location only has a couple ponds like this, you won't find anything in the water. You can surf up and down here for hours, but you'll never find a single wild encounter. However, this isn't the case for the fishing rods. Pokemon can still be fished up in Bill's yard, so it'd still be possible to let your party fall in battle. But this is only true if the player actually has a fishing rod in their inventory. In Gen 1, it's possible to store your key items in the PC storage system. By doing this, it's possible to clip out of bounds at Bill's house with a completely empty inventory. If the Vaporeon are brought here like this, and the game is saved, then the save file will become truly softlocked. There is absolutely nothing the player can do anymore. Every time the game is loaded, you can only walk around a small confined area and stare at a party of Pokemon that can't even be used. If we wanted to, we could just leave it at that. The game is now 100% unplayable, and anyone who owned this cartridge would be forced to start a new game if they ever wanted to play it again. But if you've ever seen one of my videos before, then you'll know that I just wouldn't be satisfied with ending things that way. Instead, I'm going to make a small change to this softlock so that it's still possible to escape. But by doing so, the game will become so unbelievably annoying to play that no one will ever do it. So imagine again that I've set up the glitch, and I've just saved the game while out of bounds at Bill's house. In this case, let's imagine that I've given the cartridge to someone and told them to escape. The following is what they would find. When the game is loaded in, they'll see that I've intentionally left just a single item in the inventory, the Old Rod. In Generation 1, the Old Rod does not have any assigned encounter tables for each location. As long as it's used on a water tile, it is programmed to initiate a battle against a level 5 Magikarp 100% of the time. And as we all should know, level 5 Magikarp can only use the move Splash, which does nothing. So if this is the only possible Pokemon that can be battled, then the next step is obvious. To escape Bill's house, the player must fish up wild Magikarp and have all 6 Vaporeon use up the PP of all of their moves. And from there, they must repeatedly use Struggle until all of them faint from the recoil damage. However, doing this will be difficult because of the moves I've given to all of them. 5 of the Vaporeon know the moves Tackle, Quick Attack, Water Gun, and Bite, all of which have had their PP raised to the maximum values. The last Vaporeon has Bite swapped out with Surf simply because one of them needs to know the move for the glitch to even be possible in the first place. Altogether, this party has a grand total of 1,088 moves that need to be used for an escape to be possible, and at level 100, a single use of any of these attacks will always KO a Magikarp. This means that the player will have to use the fishing rod over and over to deplete their moves, one at a time, which is a process that will take an obnoxiously long time to complete. I'm also sure you've noticed by now that the Vaporeon are all paralyzed and have long names. Paralysis will randomly make the player miss turns, and the long names take slightly longer for the game's text to display. These wasted split seconds will slowly add up over time and make the run take longer. I have to mention this every video because the all caps names look really random without the context. Remember, the goal is to purposely make the player spend as much time as possible in every encounter. There's no reason for me to not do this every time. But anyways, you all get the point by now. Everything I've shown you is entirely possible to set up on any copy of the game without the use of cheats. The only question left is how long would it take to escape? If someone were to seriously sit down and KO over 1,000 Magikarp as fast as possible, how much time do you think it would realistically take to get sent back to the Pokemon Center? After recording myself doing this, I'm here to tell you that I spent 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 7 seconds fishing up and battling Magikarp over and over like a madman. And after all of that time, I was finally able to make the first Vaporeon faint. That's right, it takes that long to just barely get started. To get an accurate time, I made sure to have no interruptions and did all of my inputs as quick as possible without wasting any time. And despite all of that, the time it takes to reach the first KO is still longer than this game's speedrun. Even when Vaporeon runs out of moves to use, it still took a solid half hour of more fishing before Struggle finally finished it off. Continuing to do this in parts, the final time for knocking out all 6 Vaporeon was 11 hours, 2 minutes, and 27 seconds. Let me repeat, the number you see on screen right now is a requirement for making the save file playable again. If you don't spend this amount of time fishing up Magikarp, then you'll remain permanently stuck in Bill's yard. There is nothing else available in the game that can get you out of here. This is the only possible way to salvage the save. And with that, we've come to the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed and look forward to even more. If you want to see more videos like this, you can subscribe and look at my other softlock and Pokemon videos. I also stream over on Twitch and post my VODs to my other channel. You can watch me there if you feel like it. My name is Picaspree, and thanks for watching.